Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Treese Fowler, and the name of my presentation is the Leadership Development Program Elements for Newly Hired or Promoted Leaders. Thanks for stopping by to take a look at my presentation. So the introduction of my presentation involves the three tiers of human resource and workforce development. The first one is the career development process. The next is the training and development, and the third is the organizational development. And that is how I have got this sectioned up so that it hopefully is a little more collaborative in the way that it makes sense. In the first section of career development, you can see that I have included 7 different elements to break this particular section down into. The first 2 elements of the career development section is the onboarding process and the welcome orientation. And a lot of times people confuse these and they assume that these 2 elements are the same. They're completely independent of each other. The onboarding process is the actual process of immersing the new employee or the newly hired leader into the organization. This should be anywhere from a 6 to a 12-month process. The reason why this is important is because the first impressions that new leader has with your organization is whether or not you are as invested as they are. This also helps to build a strong foundation for that new leader to begin their journey with your organization. So the next section is the welcome orientation. Now this is actually the reception. This should be when this new leader is welcomed aboard the take charge leader of the ship process. There should be a clear direction and vision for what your organization represents, as well as what the expectations for that new leader's role involve. The other thing is make this experience memorable. They just committed in a psychological contract with your organization to be involved in what your company represents. So make sure they really understand and have that alignment with your organization. During this next section, we call this the journey map. So during this time frame, we've got our outline of what our future looks like for our new leader. Are they going to stay in that particular line of work, or are they going to potentially take a different direction? This is where we sit them down and we go through the developmental process so that they understand exactly what their career path with the organization looks like. This enhances the growth as well as keeping the alignment within the organization. Another element that new leaders struggle with is life management. Oftentimes a new leader will struggle to find a balance. You've all heard the cliche, there has to be a work-life balance. Well, it has been my experience that there is no such thing. It doesn't exist. There is only balance. So helping that new leader to balance between a child's soccer game and an employee function is super important. And this also helps with their time management skills so that they are not only responsible for their time management, but the organization's time management. Those skills certainly need to be developed so that they are in line with what the organization's skills involve and what's necessary for them to be able to be successful in their new role. This next section of the career development tier involves connections. Now, this is not connections so in a social sense. This is connections with, hey, can I access the files that I need to get into so that I can do my job? Do I have the security clearance for the buildings that I will have to be in to make sure that I'm doing my job? And then lastly, make sure we're providing our new leaders with proper equipment. This could be something as simple as a laptop, a cell phone, or even an iPad. Just whatever the materials are needed, they need to make sure that we have those so that they can do their jobs and be successful. The next section is the social responsibility. This is where our global workplaces become very important. In today's world, a lot of our organizations are trending toward a global workspace. This also involves culture education, because as we expand and grow our organization, we want to ensure that we're not excluding any particular demographic area in the world. We want to make sure that it is an inclusive area and that it is an inclusive workplace for all to come and work and support our organization. So therefore, the diversity education is critical when considering the development of a new leader. The last section of the career development tier is to provide the feedback and support that the new leader needs to ensure that they are being successful and that they are meeting the criteria that is going to make sure that they succeed. The number one thing that most people don't realize is that every leader within your organization should have at least completed this program one time. If there are new elements to change, then that may need to be updated. That shows a commitment to the success of the program and the development of that new leader. The next tier is the 360-degree coaching. This involves a collaborative decision-making process. So in other words, there's not one right way to do anything. This is a collaborative effort so that whether you are a senior leader who's been in your role for 6 months or you're a senior leader who's been in there for 6 years, that needs to happen so that everybody can be rewarded with the correct information. And so a coaching element of a 360 degree is super important when you're considering the development of these programs. This next section is the training and development section of our program. You can see again, I've included 7 different elements within this tier to ensure that we have hit on everything that is critical for the development plan of our new leader. The first thing is to involve the leader in the developmental process. We need to assess their current abilities, but we also need to have them participate in the design of the program. We also need to make sure that they are graded according to their particular skill sets. The next thing is the leadership commitment. This means the senior leadership support the program. In other words, they act as the mentors, they act as the heroes and the cheerleaders to ensure that this new leader understands that they are as supportive of the program as they are. This also includes the credibility of the program, and it means that everyone, regardless of job title, will receive the developmental processes that they need. And this one, the mentorship program. So in other words, we've got different elements, we've got different cultures, we've got different walks of life, we've got moms, we've got dads, we've got teachers, sisters, we've got everybody that could potentially be in our organization. So you can imagine the different perspectives that each one of these individuals can bring to the program. Therefore, a mentorship program is super important. This also builds trust of the new employee as well as blends the resources available to them. The next is the coaching culture. We kind of tapped in on this earlier, but we want to make sure that the new leader understands that everyone in our organization is approachable. We value working partnerships, and we also want the strength of our relationships because we all know that is our core. Now in this section, we want to make sure that we are refining the individual leader's core skills. In other words, what skills they're really good at, we need to make sure that they align with the company's goals. We also need to make sure that they have effective communication. Can they convey the information to their employees without error? The other thing with that is to make sure that they have an evolution of their skills. We do not want a new leader to become complacent in their skill level because they feel that they have attained or checked off a box. The next thing that we require of our new leadership development programs is that we require them to think outside the box. We want to force them into positions to where they have to have critical thinking. And in order to do that, we have to remove them from their daily assignments. In other words, we have to put them into a department that they're not comfortable with. We have to put them into a position where they are responsible for the research of a new idea so that they have to think outside the box. We do require those specialized programs of our leaders. In this section of the training and development, this is where we want to evaluate how well our new leader is immersing into the organization. Are they meeting expectations? And then also, is our program functioning as it should? So this is just a revisit of our programs that we have in place, as well as the expectations that we have within our organization to ensure that our new leaders succeed. In this next section, you'll see that this is our organizational development tier. Again, I have included 7 different elements that are critical when designing or developing programs for new leaders. One of the things that affects the organization the most is the change. We all know that change is constant. So it's important that our new leader be able to influence the functions of the organization, and as well as any new processes, that they are qualified and ready to meet the need to enforce the new transformation. That's also very important with our culture and our climate. We understand that our culture within our organization is really the social system of our organization. So new leaders need to be keenly aware of what that process looks like. So there needs to be a developmental tier to help them to recognize that. We also know that the reaction to a transaction is what builds our culture. This is also a skill that's critical to our new leaders to understand as well. We also know how we interact with our vendors as well as each other also builds and creates our climate within our organization. So the organizational development needs to require a sense of direction. This is where the guy that we have put in charge of driving the ship has to be able to know how to get there, what it looks like, what it doesn't look like, and needs to be adaptable. The next thing is he needs to know that his job is to manage the information, increase the employee's knowledge, and make collaborative decisions with his team. In this section, you'll notice that we've focused on the team building projects. We've got our network building as well as creating our structurally sound organization. In the community outreach, we feel that it's important that our new leaders emotionally connect with our communities that they support. This provides a great positive public policy within our organization. The final thing is the agility of our new leaders. We need to make sure that they are solid contributors, that they are available for the changing business environment, which we all know will happen, and that they have the tools and resources to help them feel the pressure of change enough so that they will develop or continue to evolve, but they are not overwhelmed with that process. And that is where this developmental program will have to have that element to make sure that they are supported through every aspect of their new role. In conclusion of our process, we want to make sure that we have provided our employees with a map. They understand that they are not alone and they are not just throwing darts at a board somewhere to figure out where they're going. We want to walk with them through their employment journey within our organization. We want to let them know that there are opportunities to grow within our organization. And then lastly, we want to let them know that we've invested not only our time and finances, but we have an emotional investment with this employee's success, that we are all connected, because without our support of our new leaders, we also know that our organization isn't prepared for their future. So that is the critical part of the leadership development programs within our organization. Thank you guys for taking the time out to listen to my presentation. I appreciate that, and I wish you all many, many, many moons of success.